Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Force here. We're going to be looking at a Protoss strategy today. Today's strategy video is going to be taking a look at MC. It's a Protoss strategy. As mentioned prior, the opponent in this particular game is Select. So this is going to be a Protoss versus Terran strategy. And what we're going to be focusing on specifically is MC's scouting and how he responds. Now in this particular game, what's going to happen is we're actually going to see MC go for some very fast blink stalkers. He's choosing to do this in response to seeing his Terran opponent go for a fast expansion. Now we have to keep these things in mind. The standard opener for every race is more or less the same based on what you scout, but the very beginning basic part, at least for a Protoss, you're typically going to see 9 Pylon, 12 Gateway, 14 Assimilator, then your second Pylon, your Cybernetics Core, and the second Assimilator. That's pretty much the standard opener. And then what happens is once the Cybernetics Core is up, you have that decision as to what you want to do. You can drop a Robo, you can get a few more Gateways, you can drop a Twilight Council, you can drop a Stargate, you can just go in whichever direction you want. And the direction that you choose is going to be dependent on what you scout your opponent's doing. So slow it on down right here. We're going to see MC tried to get up that initial scout right there. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get up from the get-go because of that Marine, but he's actually going to circumvent, and specifically on this map, going to try going around and checking in this way. Because again, getting that scouting is very, very, very important. It determines what is the best course of action for you. Now, what you're going to see here, as I'm going to pause, right before MC actually gets any scouting done, there's a giant ping on the minimap, but no big deal. So you can see, as I mentioned, this is a very standard Protoss opener that leaves you a lot of options. The Cybernetics Core is up. You've got the Warp Gate research started. The Stalkers coming out to get rid of that SCV so that you can deny scouting from your opponent so he doesn't know what your next move is. And this is it. From here, again, you could go Twilight Council, you could get a Robo, you could get a few more Gateways, you could get a Stargate, all sorts of options. You could even go into an expansion. You could go with a 1-gate expand. All these things are possible, and depending on what you scout, it's going to determine what you are going to do. So now that we see this basic opener, as I mentioned before, 9 Pylon, 12 Gateway, 14 Assimilator, 17 Cybernetics Core, 18 was that second Assimilator, and then as soon as this Cybernetics Core pops up, you get the first Stalker. You start your Warp Gate research. Everything looks very standard. I've got lots of options, and let's see what happens next. MC goes through with this scouting. He manages to sneak by that first Marine, and he spots the fast expansion. Looks like it was a 1-Rax into expand build. So this is a popular Terran opening, very strong economy opening. He gets up some bunkers as defense and just relies on those Marines. Now, immediately what's going to happen, and in seeing this coming, MC knows, all right, he's going to be relying on Marines, and what's going to be good against that? Stalkers are very strong against Marines, especially since he's not going to have upgrades for quite a while. So what MC decides to do is after this basic opener, he drops the Twilight Council, and we're going to actually see that come down to 27 supply. His plan now is to go for some Blink Stalker aggression, and that is a fantastic plan. It's going to work very well in this situation. So again, we've got these standard openers. If we get comfortable with these, then we're just going to rely on our scouting to decide what our next step is. We're actually going to see MC push up with that first Stalker just to confirm what's going on. He sees the bunker. He sees that an expansion is still building. So there we go. It's a Marine heavy fast expand, and what he's going to do is go for some Blink Stalkers, and that's going to completely tear through the Marine heavy composition of his Terran opponent. Not only that, but with the Blink Stalkers, he's got fantastic mobility, and since the Terran player will not have Stimpak for a while going for this build, Blink Stalkers are even that much more effective because of their mobility. So he's going to drop 2 additional Gateways. Those are going to come down at 30 supply, and then obviously the second that Twilight Council comes in, saving up those Chrono Boosts to get that right on through. You can notice for the last third or so of the Cybernetics Core, he actually didn't bother putting any Chrono Boost on it because he knew he had to wait for the Twilight Council Warp Gate research to finish. I'm sorry, for the Blink Stalker research to finish, and so he figured I'll save up my Chrono Boost, use it on that instead of trying to Chrono Boost this through a little bit faster. I want to make sure we get that Blink research in as quick as possible. So MC right now staging out front, going forward and placing a proxy pylon is going to allow you to be super aggressive. Now the next step I'm going to mention here, I'm going to pause once more. So what's going to happen now is we're going to warp in the Blink Stalkers. We're going to do as much damage as possible and then decide from there what our next course of action could be. what's going to happen is you're going to decide based on how much damage you do and how comfortable of a position you feel you're in, whether or not you should come out with an expansion. You can see MC right now staging up with that probe. He's getting ready to drop that expansion if he feels comfortable doing so. But before that point, what he is going to do is he's going to make sure that his aggression with these Blink Stalkers is actually going to do some damage. So we're going to fast forward it here. We're going to see those Blink Stalkers come on through. The Blink research just finished. He's getting some more Stalkers on up. Vision of the high ground. Stalkers blinking up from that side, and then this is the point. He's going to see how much damage he can do, how effective this is, and if it's looking to be successful, then he's going to drop that expansion. You can see obviously doing that Blink Stalker micro. Whenever you get a low Stalker, you just grab him and then blink him behind, and that's how you can effectively do that. He warps in another group right there of Stalkers and then continues up the aggression, and as long as he feels comfortable, there's the vision of the high ground, blinking back up, and he's like, all right, this is a good position. He doesn't seem to have a lot of opposition right now. My Blink Stalkers have done a bit of damage. He immediately drops that expansion. Now keep in mind, if you did not feel like you were in that strong of a position with this initial push, where it wasn't doing enough damage, send in another warp in or two of Stalkers. You know, get in another wave or two of Stalkers, get just enough to make sure you can overwhelm your Terran opponent, make him suffer for going for that fast expansion, and the fact that his Stimpack research won't be up that early, he just can't afford it. When you go for an expansion that fast, by the time this Blink Stalker push hits, he will not have Stimpack, and it'll make it all that more effective due to the great mobility that Stalkers have. But again, if you did not feel you're in a strong position, get another warp in or two of Stalkers, continue up the push, and then once you feel like you're in a solid spot, go ahead and drop that Nexus. Now that the Nexus is close to finish too, we are going to see MC actually come out with a couple more gateways. That should be happening in just 1 second right now. Main focus here of these Blink Stalkers is obviously disrupting the economy and then taking out any high priority low hit point targets. So what that's going to mean, it's going to mean refineries, it's going to mean attachments, depots as well, SCVs if you can get a hold of them. The idea is that things with relatively low hit points that are very high priority. So he's taking out the engineering bay, taking out the refineries so that Select can't make many more Marauders, because Marauders will obviously be the strongest against the Stalkers. Taking out the tech lab so that he can't make any more Marauders and so that he can't get any research done. As mentioned prior, a couple additional gateways because he's got that expansion up and saturated right now. And even though eventually the Terran player was able to push that back, look what we have back home. MC warped in a bunch of sentries, and he's going to get ready for a secondary push, which is just about to happen right now. So very effective stuff. I think it's very important for you guys to understand, you know, have these basic openings, scout out your opponent, figure out what they're doing, and then decide your best course of action. That's exactly what MC did here. He had that very, very standard Protoss opener. He had lots of options. He saw that fast expansion, immediately dropped that Twilight Council, worked up to Blink Stalkers, did some aggression when he felt comfortable, dropped his expansion, and then there you go. You could see how effective that was for MC. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the build order that was used in this game. It was 9 Pylon, 12 Gateway, 14 Assimilator, 17 Cybernetics Core, 18 the second Assimilator, 20, as soon as this finishes, start that Warp Gate research. So everything up until this point, incredibly standard Protoss opener. I've got tons of options. Scouting out that fast expansion, the Marine Heavy fast expand, he immediately decided Blink Stalkers would be the great course of action, so we dropped that Twilight Council at 27 supply. 2 additional gateways came at 30 supply, and then as soon as that Twilight Council finished, start that Blink research, chrono boosted on through, hit with your Blink Stalkers, see how much damage you can do, get that expansion, and there you go. Very solid position, a very solid response here from MC, and hopefully this is something that you guys can incorporate into your own gameplay. Alright guys, well thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you have enjoyed this Protoss strategy video. As always, if you like the content, please subscribe. Thanks again guys. Keep watching and keep owning.